Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Nick Marro here with DFS Jayhawk, as always, to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Yeah, we got a big one tonight. Jayhawk and I were talking just before. Not a ton of value that we're loving yet. But as always, everyone, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the links in the description below. You get access to the model you can see here for very, very low price of around $7. But yeah, Jayhawk, what's your overall take on this slate so far? I think I already know, but for the few of us who are, for the few of the regulars who are already in here early.
Yeah, so we have a crazy slate tonight. Obviously, Denver is highlighting this slate, 248 total in Denver tonight. So looks like Denver's going to be the chalk. But we were talking pre-stream. We think Atlanta has a lot of news still to come in, and there could be a lot of value from Atlanta here late. So very fun slate for tournaments.
Yeah, this is one of those slates where like we may not know what we're gonna end up on quite yet, but it's one big piece of news since we don't have a ton of obvious value could really change things quickly. So definitely a good time to be tuned in. Let's get to some comments real quick. We got Heath here saying what's up, Unicorn as always. Good evening. Savage saying what's up. His Eagles going to the Super Bowl. As a Giants fan, I can't congratulate you too much, man. But good game yesterday for sure. Putting a lot of doubters in check. Should be a fun one in a couple weeks. Then Ben Jizzy saying let's go. And then Wallace not getting the start for Young. We're going to talk about that one, Jose. I'm hoping he is. I don't know if that lineup's out yet. If he does, I actually do think he's a really solid value play, though. But we're going to go team by team, as always, guys. And Jimmy just shared a post of Tommy from Martin. If you don't know the show, he was telling me he got a job. Yeah, I did watch Martin from time to time, but that is hysterical. And yeah, Butler, Miami, complete mess right now. But again, guys, let's go team by team. We got to go quick today. We got Jayhawk on double duty. He's going to be doing the Discord on the back end. But I think we could go through some of these teams really quick. There's just not a lot to like. But first game we have on the slate here, we got the Pistons taking on the Cavs. 235-point total, so pretty high total for these two teams. On the Detroit side of things, we are waiting to hear if Tobias Harris is going to be available. Still no Jaden Ivey. That's significant. Other than that, really not much we're waiting on. But if Harris is out, I think there is a world where we see someone like Simone Fontecchio slide into the starting lineup. Beasley could as well, but he's been better off the bench. And there is a chance it does solidify minutes for someone like Oscar Thompson. More than anything, I don't mind going to maybe Cade here at really low ownership. Duren looks fine. Oscar, if we were to get Harris out, maybe he's someone we look at. But yeah, man, just a tough matchup against the Cavs. Is there anything on Detroit you're interested in?
Yeah, so pretty much aligned here with you. Kate Cunningham, he's fine as a contrarian spend up, I think. And it pretty much would come down to whoever starts. If Cade, sorry, not if Cade, if Harris sat here, I think Beasley would get a minor bump as well. So probably just Cade, Beasley, maybe Fontecchio. But yeah, it's a tough spot here. I don't love anyone in particular.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. And again, we always talk about how if we're waiting on news, we don't necessarily want to lock up spots in the early games. But over on the Cleveland side, they are missing a Coro. Dean Wade is out and Karis LeVert. So lacking depth. Max Drew's probably going to get the start again here. They did just get Mobley back. I know both of us were talking about Ty Jerome as a potential value play. Not going to get the start here, but coming off the bench, one of these guys who's kind of a hybrid. If the game's close, he's going to be involved. If the game blows out, he'll probably still be involved because they need his ball handling. I do like Ty Jerome. The model seems to somewhat agree. He's not ranking all that highly. But yeah, man, I mean, Mobley looks really good here. Struce, I don't know if we can count on 30 minutes for him, but if he's going to play 30, I do think he's a little bit too cheap. How are you handling the Cavs right now?
Yeah, so Karis LeVert being out here, I think it's pretty big. We were kind of talking pre-stream. I think we both kind of like Ty Jerome here, even off the bench on both sides. So like Jerome here in tournaments. And then Mobley's projected to be, somewhat owned here, both sides. I think it's a good matchup for him as well. So for me, it's mainly Jerome and Mobley. But I think Mitchell and Garland. What do you kind of take on the guards here for Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell and Garland look good. I just think they're kind of priced where they should be. Obviously, they have enough upside, but again, I think on a slate where we don't have a ton of news, if we can get something weird to break after lock, it's going to be such a huge edge today. I don't know if I want to really allocate salary to them. I'm only playing a handful of lineups, full transparency tonight in single entries. If I was a 150 maxer, though, I do think it would be pretty easy to get over the field on both these guys. They've both been playing excellent. They've shown they can coexist. So yeah, man, no reason not to like them. One name I do want to bring up. I thought this was hilarious. I was watching the Cavs game over the weekend. They called Yorgis Niang G Wagon. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous of a nickname. But coming off the bench, I mean, if people are going to go to Strus, he's not a terrible pivot in tournaments. Again, risky, definitely scoring dependent. But with so many guys out of this rotation right now, someone should do well off the bench here. I personally am with you. I think it's more than likely going to be Jerome. But I do think Niang, if you need a forward, isn't the craziest bit of value. But yeah, man, guards are fine. It's just, do we want to use that salary this early?
Yep, completely agreed. We have so much potential late news that I kind of like being underweight to these first games.
Yep. Totally agree, man. Moving into the next game here, we got the Lakers taking on the Hornets. Yeah, I mean, Lakers, no Rui Hachimura. That is somewhat significant. No Gabe Vincent either. These are two guys who have been regularly getting minutes. Rui has been starting. So LeBron and AD, I think, are both in. Probable. So yeah, rest of this team should be good to go. Max Christie, someone I have circled. I don't mind him here. He's been starting pretty scoring dependent, but maybe a little bit of extra usage for him with Rui off the floor. Obviously, still sharing the floor with the likes of LeBron and AD. Tough to really trust him, but on a slate where we're lacking value, I don't think it's crazy. And then, yeah, I guess DFS, Finney Smith is probably going to be the one who slides into the starting lineup. Right now, Christie is rating as the better value play. Finney Smith just hasn't looked great for the Lakers. I mean, AD is doing a lot of what he does offensively, obviously just much better. Finney's just kind of hanging in the corner as a spacer, 3-and-D type guy. So even with the extended minutes, I don't love him. I do think getting a starter that cheap is going to be rare on this slate. So he's somewhat viable in that regard. But in the handful of lineups I'm building tonight, not someone I'm rushing to. Fine with LeBron or AD. Not going to call either a priority. Reeves is fine as well. But I don't know. It's tough for me to get to anything here. And it's weird to say, but I think Max Crispy might be Christie would be the first Laker I get to. But how are you handling LA?
Yeah, well, first of all, Max Crispy is what I'm going to call him now. But let's yeah. So I think Crispy here is fine. Both sides, sub 10% owned. I think he's fine. The guy kind of wanted to shout here. Super low owned. Dalton Connect. He's 3,200 on DK.
Mm.
4% owned. It's kind of just a low owned play. I want to mix in tournaments. So I like him at 4%. And then yeah, both LeBron and AD, they're both fine, but it's tough to play them over Jokic tonight. So that's just kind of my take with the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big discount from Jokic, especially on LeBron. He's been playing really well. But again, do we want to lock up the salary early? I don't know that I do necessarily. I do like the connect call, someone who should probably see a few extra minutes with Rui out. I just want people to keep in mind, though, Jared Vanderbilt did just get back and healthy. He's in the rotation. They have Cam Reddish in as well. Connect should be getting minutes over both these guys, but Reddick's probably going to be mixing and matching things for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you would think a guy like Reddick would like a guy like Dalton Connect, very similar archetype as far as the two players go. On the Hornets side of things, taking a look at the injury report, no Trey Mann, no Cody Martin, no Brandon Miller, no Grant Williams, no KJ Simpson. Salulin's down with the G League. Yeah, as far as the model goes, Kogi actually popping as the top of value. Shouts out to the douche in chat. Obviously, former Suns player Josh Okogie seems to have a pretty good grasp on him and what he's capable of. He's been spiking some upside. He's very cheap, probably going to be coming off the bench here. I don't mind him as a value play. At the same time, I mean, it's tough to really get excited about him, just knowing that he's not always the most productive offensively. Nick Smith coming off a terrible game. Someone who does look okay at his price. I think everyone's very sour on that last performance, but we got to have a short memory when it comes to NBA DFS. I wouldn't mind going back to him. LaMelo's LaMelo, tremendous ceiling. Bridges looks good here as well. He's been better with Miller out. But again, it's like these guys are priced where they should be. I don't know that I necessarily want to load up on them. And then Mark Williams, as good as he's been, and he's been damn good. His price is up. Not the best matchup here against AD. I do like these guys. Just looking at the ownerships, I think they're underrepresented, especially Williams, then Ball, then Bridges, and then I think Okokie's good value. I do think it's kind of crazy. No one's getting to them here, but at the same time, I can't sit here, beat my chest, and say there's one play I really want to get to. How are you going to handle these Hornets tonight?
Yeah, so I think these guys are all good tournament plays. I agree. I think Mark Williams and LaMelo probably my two favorites here. But particularly LaMelo here, I'm always going to bump him a little bit more than I should. Uh, against LA, should be in a pretty good spot. Low ownership, so I don't hate getting some shares of LaMelo. And then Miles Bridges, I think is fine, but just like respectively on this slate, I just feel like he's a tough click with how many good forwards we have. So probably mainly LaMelo for me.
Yep, I tend to agree. And it looks like my screen is freezing, so just a second. Okay, we're back. Yeah, man. Again, some of these good games have some decent spots. It's just if we get some news to break, things are going to change pretty quickly. So we maybe don't want to overinvest. Yeah, Tommy, don't work anymore. We getting the Martin shouts here. Just bringing up chat. We got Jayhawk here. Shouts out from Chirp Walker. Power with the news. Definitely appreciate it, man. Podol and Agbaji are in. Kelly O is out. So we'll talk about Toronto in a minute. Maybe that means some Chris Boucher. Um, all these comments from Martin, I'm going to bring them all up. And right the first time, Max Crispy, because he is getting burned on the court. Yeah. And I will say this, he's been a lot better than I expected this season. Not that that's enough to want to play him in DFS. Jose, I don't think we're going to see Connect starting. It's probably going to be Finney Smith, something worth keeping an eye on. And yeah, Okogie getting more minutes and multiple steals since he came to Charlotte. Yeah, he was kind of buried in that rotation in Phoenix. It's nice to see him getting some run. Definitely a good vet. And it's funny to call him a vet. I remember when he was a rookie back in Minnesota. But enough about Josh Okogie. Do think he's a good value play, but we got a lot of games to get through here. Let's get into this next one with Orlando and Miami. Lots of jokes about Jimmy Butler already in the chat. He deserves them. Keep them coming, guys. But Orlando first. We got Goga coming back tonight. He's been in concussion protocol. What does that mean for his minutes? I'm not entirely sure. Jalen Suggs, questionable. Gary Harris is out. Mo Wagner's out. So they do have Franz back and Banchero. This is pretty much the healthiest that the Magic have been in a long time, especially with Goga back. So again, just a team I think that's kind of priced where they should be. Obviously, Miami not the best matchup. I don't mind getting to maybe some Banchero. That's really going to be it for me though, and even that doesn't feel great against Miami. Are you getting to any Orlando here, Jayhawk?
Yeah, I wasn't really getting anything here. I guess if I had to get somewhere, I agree with you. Probably would be Paulo here, but even then, it's a very tough spot I think against Miami here. So yeah, probably just Paulo, and I'd play very little if I played him.
Yeah, and I will say I'm more on DK tonight. The price on Suggs on FanDuel is a little bit tempting at 5,500. You're paying 2K more for him over on DK. So if he's in and starting, I don't think that's crazy. But again, probably somewhat limited minutes. Tough to even call him a priority at that price. Over on the Miami side of things, we definitely have more to talk about. Jimmy Butler suspended again. Tyler Hero's available. Jaime Jaquez is out though. Still no Josh Richardson. Drew Smith going to be out for a while. Yeah, so Khalil Ware's kind of been the story of this team. He looks great on DK, 5,900, definitely underpriced. He's shown that he can play next to Bam. They can share the floor. These are two bigs that can coexist. Really, really solid front court there now in Miami, even with Butler now out of the picture. But yeah, with Hawkins out, we're going to try to figure out who's going to get more minutes. Did you say Duncan Robinson was added as questionable? If that happened, that was recent. But I would think Robinson would be someone to benefit with
Mhm.
Hawkins out. But again, his minutes tend to be volatile. Terry Rozier could get the start. Again, just another guy with volatile minutes. This team, even when they're banged up, they go pretty deep. They do a good job kind of drafting in the later rounds. I think if anything, maybe it's Ware on DK. Don't know that I want to use that center spot though. Are you going to get to any Miami? I think with Jaime out, maybe we should, but right now, nothing really standing out.
Yeah, so kind of dependent on I think Duncan Robinson's news here. Eilini probably sits here. Late day downgrade with an illness for Robinson, so probably when he sits. But I do agree. As of right now, I think Khalil Ware probably the best play. Still too cheap on DK, so like him at 7%. Just a great producer. And after that, I agree. Not too much. I love here from Miami.
Yeah, and I don't know if I already said it, but Jovic off the bench, somewhat interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like you said, the late downgrade usually a bad sign for a player. So he's probably pretty sick, and he's probably going to be ruled out. But yeah, just an ugly game. Orlando, Miami, two pretty good defenses, teams that don't play too fast. But let's move right into the next one here. We got the Kings taking on my Nets. It is Tankathon 2025. On the Kings side of things, Kobe Jones is out, Isaac Jones is out, Isaiah Crawford's out. Don't even know why I listed them. They're all G Leaguers. This team is completely healthy. They're good to go. Sabonis has been playing out of his mind. He tends to go overlooked. I don't mind him as a tournament play here. Monk on DK feels too cheap at 7K flat. With Christie as the coach, he's been starting, producing really well. But other than that, not much. Obviously, some blowout risk. I do think Sabonis is going overlooked. He's probably one of the only plays at center point per dollar who could compete with Joker. But this game would probably need to stay competitive for that to happen. Can it happen against the Nets? I don't know. They have been surprising at times, but we're about to talk about them and all the guys they have out again tonight. So I'm not crazy about it. If anything, it's the bonus here, maybe a little bit of Monk on DK. Are you getting to any of these Kings?
Yeah, so I think both Sabonis and Monk are fine here. You mentioned it. Sabonis has been on a tear. I do like him at 4% here. It's pretty good ownership. And then Malik Monk is fine. I don't love that he's kind of chalky, but he's in the mid tier. He's like kind of in that Russell Westbrook range. So I think he's in play at his ownership. Then after those two, I want to be on Fox, but there's other guards I prefer tonight. So mainly just Sabonis and Monk to go there.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. And again, they're healthier than they have been lately. On the Nets side of things, it looks like Cam Johnson's out again. Still no Bojan. Melton, Simmons, Cam Thomas, Trenton Watford all out. So they're a little bit healthier than usual. It seems like they're just kind of resting guys for the hell of it. Obviously, this is a team that is tanking. D'Angelo Russell getting a lot of love over on DK, though, at 6,400. I don't mind him. I think there is a world where this game stays competitive enough in which Russell's probably the main reason for it. Other than him, though, nothing I'm crazy about. Noah Clowney's been taking more shots than anyone on this team. And even when most of these guys are seeing their minutes capped around 30, he is someone who's been getting to 34 pretty much regardless of how these games play out. Can you trust him? No. We've seen him put up zero in 30 minutes before, the old Tony Snell performance. So I don't think you can rush to get to him. But if you're playing 150 lineups, I do think Clowney's someone probably worth mixing in. Claxton, super disappointing this season, just overpriced in my opinion compared to some of the other centers we have on the slate. Maybe Jalen Wilson gets another start. He's been shooting the ball well. But again, the price is up on him. The price is up on Keon Johnson. It's really just D'Lo for me. All the starters are technically viable. I'd kind of leave Claxton out of that statement. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, go play these Nets." It's tough to trust these guys night to night. Are you getting to any Brooklyn?
Yeah, I'm getting to some D'Lo, but to be honest, I'm kind of underweight to his 20% ownership. I don't love the price here, 6,400. Liked him more at that mid 5K range. So
Mhm.
just kind of trying to stay a little bit underweight, but still getting some D'Lo. And
Yeah,
then
the thing with D'Lo. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead. I don't mean to
I
cut
just
you off.
after that, I'm not getting any Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, if you're playing a ton of lineups, they're probably worth mixing in. These guys do have upside for their price, but on a night to night basis, only one or two of them is going to get there. You kind of got to spin that wheel and just hope you land on the right one, whether it's Clowney, Wilson, Johnson. I don't know, maybe Martin off the bench, probably not. But yeah, let's move right along into the next game. Then I will get back to chat. We got the Grizzlies taking on the New York Knicks, and just pulling up this injury report. Here we go. So Grizzlies, a lot of names here. We got Aldama as questionable. Edie's available. Laravia is questionable. Smart, Spencer, Williams are all out. So that tells me that John Morant is going to be in and available. Pretty inconsistent playing time for him lately, but we have him for 30 minutes. At his price, I think he looks fine. Jaron Jackson, price where he should be. Desmond Bain, a little bit overpriced because most of his big games have come with Jaw out. These three, I think, are viable. Can't sit here and say I'm really rushing to any of them. Edie's been playing well, but the minutes have just been so inconsistent. I don't know that I want to pay up for him. He's coming off maybe his best game of the season against Utah, but obviously a much, much tougher matchup here, especially when you consider that matchup with Utah came without a lot of their starting front court. So, yeah, man, I don't know that I can get to much Memphis here. I will say Jaw at his price looks like a pretty good tournament play. But, yeah, just not the best matchup. But I will say this is a surprisingly high total, 241. Grizzlies Knicks, like that doesn't scream high total to me. I'm a little bit surprised to see where this number is, but yeah, not a ton of Memphis for me. How about you?
Yeah, just about to mention that 241 total. So Vegas is telling us to play this game. I think if I had to choose someone here, probably would be one of these guards here, either Bane or Jaw. Just great game environment for them. So Bane at 0%, 5% on FanDuel. I don't hate taking stabs there. and it looks like Gigi and Jaren Jackson, both Jacksons, are picking up love here. I don't love the spot for Jaren, but just in the total alone, I think we have to maybe get some love towards him. But I mainly just have Bane and Jaw at like 1%, but I don't. I want to say I have conviction here. I don't. I wish I liked more from Memphis here.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of with you. And Gigi Jackson, super talented player. Like we're hoping he gets more minutes, but right now the model has him really low in terms of OFID next. We only have him at 16. It's going to take them really cutting out Brandon Clark or Aldama for him to get the run we want him to. So player to keep an eye on for sure. But until he is getting that run consistently, not someone we want to recommend. Over on the Knicks side of things, pretty healthy for the most part. Josh Hart is questionable. He's been questionable a lot lately. Obviously, still no Mitchell Robinson. Again, very high total here, somewhat surprisingly high. Pretty close spread too. I mean, Cat does look good if you don't want to pay all the way up for Jokic. We talked about Sabonis as a pivot. I think Cat is right there with him in terms of like second tier centers tonight. Jalen Brunson's fine. A little bit pricey compared to some of the other guards we have available, but wouldn't talk anyone off playing him. Other than that, I mean, Bridges, OG Hart, if he's in, all fine, but I can't sit here and say I'm bullish on anyone. It would probably be Cat more than anything here. Again, if I'm trying to go more balanced, if we don't get the value we want on this slate and it's a little bit tougher to get to Joker, I do think going down to Cat, using that to kind of upgrade into the mid range for some of this ugly chalk value is probably a good way to go. But yeah, outside of Cat and Brunson, nothing I'm really super interested in. Excuse me. How are you handling these Knicks?
Yeah, so pretty much on the same page here. I think Cat definitely my favorite play overall. Pretty good matchup here against Memphis. The one player I did want to add here, I think Josh Hart. I know it's going to sound like I'm chasing, but this is a great spot for him once again. 5% owned. He's been nuking. I think he was the highest scoring player on the slate, or second, the last slate. So
Mm-hmm. Saturday. Yeah.
5% owned. I love him in tournaments. 242 total. So mix in some Hart, hoping he goes for that triple double again. And then Brunson, I like, but I'm a little bit less on Brunson than I am for Cat. So it's mainly just Cat and Hart for me.
Yeah, man, and I do like the hard call. Obviously, coming off a huge triple double, you played 39 minutes, but that's nothing strange for a Tibbs starter.
Yeah.
18 boards, 11 assists. How many points? 20 points. So just awesome all around game. And yeah, he's capable of doing it even with this team healthy. He's shown us the price has actually come down on him a little bit on DK. So yeah, I think the price is scaring people off, especially on a slate where they're trying to fit in Joker. But I do think he's definitely someone we're considering, especially if he holds that Q tag for a little longer. Should keep that ownership down. Let's take a quick look at chat here, guys. We did just get some news about the Celtics. We'll get to that game in a little bit. Derek White and here it is. Shouts out Anthony. Derek White and Hoser are out. We're about to talk through that one a little bit. And yeah, no Wade Levert, Okoro with Struz starting. I don't mind a couple second team pieces from Clay. Yeah, Power. I don't know if you were tuned in early. We're right there with you. Ty Jerome, G Wag, and you're just Yang, and then Struz himself looks pretty decent. Big J here saying, "Sup, fellas? Do we know why Ware played less minutes last game? He wasn't in foul trouble. Do you know off the top of your head, was that game a blowout or anything? Trying to
I think
think here.
I
Oh, it
think
was a blowout. They played the Nets. I'm sure
yeah.
they killed us. So yeah, just a blowout, man. I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah.
Just finally were able to give the kid a rest. Shouts out Vince Carter though. Number retired over the weekend. Finally, something to cheer about there in Brooklyn. And Bam was dominating. Yeah, I mean that was the other part. Can you hit on Patrick Williams? Is he starting and is he a good play? So to answer the first part, he is going to start. Jose, I'm pretty confident in that. Is he a good play? Point per dollar, yes. Can you expect a ton out of him? Not necessarily. We're going to go game by game, but Jayhawk, any quick thoughts on Patrick Williams as a play?
Yeah, I think he's fine as a value. He should be lower owned, and he's just on a great game total. So I think that just naturally puts him in play.
Yep. Again, getting to all the chat here. We got Lyles in a blowout from Unicorn Love. I would say proceed with some caution on that, man. Usually in blowouts, they try to get the young guys the extra run. Lyles is like a super vet on that team. They like him for depth. Like he's a good guy to have in the locker room, but they don't necessarily need to give him extra minutes and see what he's got because he's a guy who's been in the league for a long time. Cam Whitmore out for the Rockets. That's significant. That's a big game now. Houston and Boston will get there soon. Max Strus or Braun. I slightly think I prefer Braun just because I trust him more. How about you, Jayhawk?
I think Brown I like more. Well, I'm obviously a Christian Brown fan, but his minutes should be more secure than Struce's.
Yeah. Oh well, now we're starting to get some news here. Dyson Daniels now questionable. If he's out, Keaton Wallace is going to look great. We got that already. Unicorn on white. No Dyson. Ant might go for 50 before they sit the starters. Definitely possible. Dyson was going to be glued to Ant in this game if he was going to be in. And yeah, Paul, totally agree. I mean, if someone gets downgraded this late, 9 times out of 10, I won't say every time, but 9 times out of 10, it means he's not going to play. And right there with the follow up, Keaton Wallace, 3,900. We love it. Is Pritchard a must play now? Not necessarily a must play, Landon, but I do think his ownership stays reasonable because he's going to be coming off the bench. But we'll talk about that one in just a minute. Did we get Hauser news? I think that's significant too. Not that he's like someone we wanted to play if he was in. Oh, yeah, he's out as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. We're about to get to Boston, guys. I think next. No, not quite. We got one game and then that game. We got another 7:30 game here. Pelicans taking on the Raptors. Another game with a pretty high total, close enough spread. And on the Pelican side of things, still no Ingram, still no Herb Jones. Murray got a game off. He is fine though. He got rested. Rest of this team is available, notably Zion as well. Not on the injury report. Definitely something to keep in mind. We still have him for around 28 minutes, but he's going to lead this team in terms of OF index, in terms of upside. He's fine as a tournament play. I don't know that I want to really risk it on him here, but he's shown us he can get to 50 fantasy points in limited minutes. So not going to talk anyone off him. I think Murray and Murphy look solid here. CJ McCollum, he's been shooting the lights out. Surprised no one's getting to him, but I guess with Zion back in, that's probably going to cut into his usage. Jordan Hawkins earlier in the day was a value piece I was hoping to get some of. Going to come off the bench. I still think he's viable here. Would prefer one of these starters to be out to really say I want to get to him. But on DK, 4,200, I don't think it's crazy. How are you handling the Pelicans here, man? And it's like still no Ingram, but they do feel healthier than they have been.
Yeah, man, it seems like I know, yeah, they're not fully healthy yet, but it seems pretty healthy and it's a good total in this game. But in terms of DFS, it's tough to play these guys when we have so many other good studs. So I guess my favorite out of all these guys would probably be DeJounte or Murphy, but it's tough to click either one. It's just really good plays on the slate. Tough to click on these guys.
Yeah, again, those two and Zion, I think, all have 50-point upside. I don't think they're all going to hit it here, though. So you got to make the right choice. And then CJ, a little cheap point per dollar compared to the others, but tough to prioritize him with all those other guys healthy. Over on the Toronto side of things, obviously, still no Emmanuel quickly. Just hit the wrong button. Bear with me. Yeah, still no quickly. But other than that, I mean, we got Agbaji. Did we get that news? Podol's in. Excuse me. Kelly out. Agbaji, I believe, is available. So, yeah, we were kind of hoping maybe Podol would be out. He's in. I think it is price on DK. He's viable. Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett are fine, but similar to all those guys in New Orleans, pretty much priced where they should be. Grady Dick looks okay at his price at 4,200. I don't mind him as value. Davion Mitchell probably going to get another start here at point guard. Seeing really no usage though as the starter. Last 3 games for him, 16%, 9%, 12%, just really low usage rates for Mitchell. So even getting good minutes, it's tough to trust him as value. But how are you handling Toronto, man? I know the front court was something we were hoping to be interested in, but with Podol available, maybe not now.
Yeah, so I think it probably starts with Pirtle here for me. 21% on DK. Obviously, New Orleans has kind of been a broken record to pick one this year. So if you're building in the mid tier, I think Pirtle makes for a fantastic GPP play. And then I was getting the most of Grady Dick next, 4,200. We just kind of lack value, so good game total. I think it's a good spot for Grady Dick as well. And then I have to mention Scotty Barnes, low owned here, high total. Always love to see low owned Scotty. So if you land on Scotty, feel free to play him. Great matchup here. Do you have a different take than me though here on Trent?
No, no. I mean, like I said, I think Scotty and RJ look fine. Grady, a little bit underpriced. Those are the three I'm getting to, so we're pretty much aligned on that. But yeah, whenever you get Scotty low owned, even with this team healthy, it makes a lot of sense, especially with Quickly out. And even when Quickly was in, his usage rate was way down. So, um, yeah, I mean, did you bring up Boucher? I guess off the bench, maybe he's someone with a little bit of upside with Kelly not available.
Yeah.
Super boomer bust, though. Like, really, really tough to trust.
Yeah. I like that shout. I would have loved him here though, Pirtle chat. So tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Bruce Brown's been getting enough minutes to be viable. I just don't know that on a slate this big, that's the type of risk you want to take, knowing he kind of has limited upside. Um, but yeah, let's get into a very interesting game now. We have the Celtics and the Rockets. Houston is in Boston this evening. This is a 222 point total, so not all that high. Let's start with Houston. I think this side's a little bit easier to talk through. So Cam Whitmore just got ruled out. That was somewhat of a surprise. He was listed as questionable. Jabari Smith's still out. Other than that, nothing too significant. No ownership going to any of these Houston Rockets. Obviously, some narrative here with Ime Udoka playing in the Garden, coaching in the Garden. Green's been shooting well. Thompson's been good. Van Fleet's been fine. It's just they're all priced where they should be. They all have upside, but against a good defense, I don't know that I really want to take much of a chance on any of these guys. Sengun looks fine here as well, but again, there's a ton of great centers in all price ranges on the slate. He's kind of getting squeezed out for me in that regard. I don't know. I don't mind Thompson, Green, or Van Fleet, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm excited to play any of them. With Whitmore out, maybe that means a few extra minutes for Eason. Can't really guarantee that, though, given Eason's general volatility. I don't know, man. Just tough for me to get to Houston right now. How about you?
Yeah, so I think Houston, it's so difficult. You mentioned it. If I had to pick one, it probably would be Tari Eason here. 2% owned on both sides. He should get a minor bump here without Cam Whitmore in terms of minutes. So if you want to take like a contrarian value, I think Tari Eason's fine. But the one guy, I guess, if you made me play Houston guard here, Amon Thompson's been on a roll. He's been crushing his value. So if I had to play one, it probably would be Amon. But it's just very difficult to get to Houston, especially against Boston here.
Yeah, man, I'm totally with you. If you need a min price player, Jeff Green's played 20 minutes in back to back games. Former Boston Celtic. If you want to play that revenge narrative, I don't think he has any vengeance against his team in his heart. But yeah, again, just desperate for a piece. If you're playing 150, I don't think that's insane with Whitmore out. But Eason definitely the more appealing play in terms of upside. On the Boston side of things, though, we did get some news. I want to refresh these projected lineups because do expect we could see a little bit of change. Yeah, so Sam Hauser now out. Horford's in, right? Where is
Yes.
this? Yeah, Horford in, but Derek White is out, interestingly enough. So, yeah, projected starting lineup probably sees Horford slide in, Porzingis, Tatum, Brown all available. What this does more than anything, though, is it is going to make Peyton Pritchard pretty appealing. So the model right now doesn't rate him all that well, but a couple extra minutes for him and a little bit extra usage goes a long way. I do like Pritchard as a value guard a lot on DK tonight. FanDuel, where he's 5,600 and only point guard eligible, not really as much of a priority for me. But I do think, even though I'm only playing a few lineups, single entry on DK, Pritchard's probably going to be in at least one of them. I just like what he can do off the bench with Hauser out and White out. Those are two boosts for him in terms of his upside. Going to get 30 minutes from him. Leading the second unit in terms of usage, I think he's an excellent play. Porzingis feels underpriced to me. He's probably the other Celtic I'm most interested in. Not the best matchup here, but his minutes have been ticking up, coming off a game where he played 28 against Dallas. Yeah, I think he's fine. Tatum, Brown always have upside, just kind of priced where they should be, though. I do think Brown's a little bit underpriced over on DK. Tatum pretty much where he should be on both sides. So, yeah, more than anything, I like Pritchard, more so on DK. I think Porzingis and Brown look good. Always fine getting to some Tatum, but how are you handling Boston?
Yep. Really like Peyton Pritchard now in tournaments. 4,800, just too cheap on DraftKings. So love mixing in Pritchard on DraftKings, even some on FanDuel. And then you nailed it. I think both Brown and Porzingis both probably underpriced here, especially with Derek White out here. I think both those guys should get a boost as well. So I think they're both firmly in play at their ownerships here. And then I also think Drew Holiday should get a minor bump in minutes as well. We have him projected for 35 at 5K. So I do prefer Pritchard for the upside, but I can't go without listing Holiday here. Good producer, good price. Like him in tournaments as well.
Yeah, it is pretty intriguing when we look at our projections because Holiday isn't a guy who's typically getting to 35 minutes. Could definitely see it here, though. I did want to bring this up. The last three games where Pritchard's played 30 minutes, we have him for 30 tonight. He's gone for 30 plus fantasy points on both sites. So Pritchard, probably a really good value play. I really hope this ownership stays this low. I can't imagine it does. I did refresh about 5 minutes ago. So wishful thinking. Hopefully, no one gets to Pritchard because I certainly will be. Over on the 8 o'clock window, we have probably the most intriguing game on the slate here between the Nuggets and the Bulls. 248.5 point total. Absolutely ridiculous. When you consider that Jokic is kind of running this offense, that's even crazier to me. Not the fastest guy in terms of pace. The resurgence of Russell Westbrook because these guys can be slow together was a big story last week. But yeah, I think tonight they look excellent. We can start on the Denver side of things. No Concar, obviously, nothing else really significant for them in terms of injuries, but super, super popular. Again, super paced up here on the road against a pretty bad defense. Russ looks great. Murray playing banged up still looks great. Christian Braun, I think, is underpriced on DK, underrepresented over there. Aaron Gordon seeing his minutes slowly tick up, going to continue to come off the bench because of the chemistry Westbrook has with Jokic, in my opinion. But yeah, I wouldn't talk anyone off any of the starters here, really. I think Jokic is the main priority, obviously. Yeah, 30% owned. I mean, I don't know. He's going to be in most of my higher dollar stuff tonight. Like I said, I do like Brown on DK. I think Westbrook looks good. Murray looks fine. Don't know that I want all these guys in the same lineup, but 248 point total, a game with a team with a pretty condensed rotation. It's tough to argue with any exposure to Denver tonight. I absolutely love them here. Jokic the priority. Westbrook probably next, but I wouldn't argue with anyone putting Murray over him. These guys look really solid. How are you handling Denver?
Yeah, it's funny, man. I've been kind of saying to target both these teams all year, and now we finally get the matchup against each other. So, first of all, before I get into this, at least I believe most optimizers will probably just jam three Denver if they can, just because of the total and just his matchup. But yeah, I think Jokic probably my favorite here. Just this is the best spot for Jokic, or one of the best spots. He will be a staple for me, both well, at least on DraftKings. 33%.
Mhm.
Love Jokic. And then between Westbrook and Murray, I do have more Westbrook than Murray, but I think both look super good at their prices. So like them both. And then I love that Christian Brown shout. His price has been 4,500 for like three slates in a row now on DraftKings. Models picked up on it. I think he looks great once again. Should play heavy minutes. And then I want to say I like MPJ here, but he was kind of getting a little bit pinched for me. But once again, he's going to be shooting a ton for them as well. So he's also in play here at sub 15%.
Yeah, I think all the starters were their priced, and even Aaron Gordon on DK makes some
Yeah.
sense. Gordon playing limited minutes off the bench, but we have seen him pushing 25 now, which is enough 4,200 to be viable. But again, if we can get the starter in Brown at this less ownership, like I don't know why we wouldn't just go to Brown. So
Yeah.
again, Denver, one of the best teams on the slate. We're both super bullish on Jokic, our favorite pay up on tonight's slate. On the other side of things, we do have the Bulls with some significant news here. No Kobe White still, no Torrey Craig either. Obviously, Kobe White, a major piece of this team in terms of offense. Lonzo Ball, shouts out to Ball Bros, probably going to get the start. Obviously, that's beneficial to him. But at the same time, he's not going to play more than 26 minutes unless this game goes to overtime or something. So while he is seeing a boost and I do like him a lot, I don't want to over project him just because those minutes are going to be capped even with Kobe White out of the lineup. This does secure minutes for Giddy, who looks a lot better than usual. I think he is under-owned on both sides, especially DK. Seeing him at 7%, where Murray's like 30%, that's a very easy to pivot to make if you don't want too much Denver. If you already have Russ, Brown, Jokic, just go ahead and put Giddy over Murray. I think you're in a pretty good position there. And then, yeah, Zach Levine. I mean, he's been tremendous with the extra usage. He's probably someone I want to build a lot of my night around, especially in Jokic lineups for a little bit of correlation there. And then we did get the question from Jose about Patrick Williams. Probably going to have to play 30 minutes tonight. We only have him for 26. And even so, he's rating as the best value on DK. He's number 3 over on FanDuel behind Gideon Ball. But I do think Williams, just getting those minutes at that price, is somewhat appealing. He's been shooting the ball terribly. But he's taking shots. I mean, he's taken 4+3s pretty much every game he's played over the past few weeks, just really not making them. But if a couple of those start to fall, maybe it's tonight in a matchup like this, it's very easy for a play like that to hit value. So I like all the starters here. Vooch, not going to get to him much. But at his price, I think he's a good tournament play. Not going to argue with anything here. Ayo off the bench, I'm a little bit hesitant just because the minutes have been kind of inconsistent on him. Buzelis is in the dunk contest, but probably not a part of my lineups tonight. But yeah, man, I do like the Bulls. Giddy, I think, is probably my favorite play in terms of ownership. But Levine, in terms of upside, definitely one of the better plays in that 8K range. How are you handling Chicago?
Yeah. First of all, love the Levine shout. Great run back to these Denver guys. And then Patrick Williams. I know someone mentioned him in chat earlier. I think he looks good. Good price, 3,800. Assuming he starts here, a good matchup for him to make the 3 pointers. So, like him on his ownership. So does the model. And then I I think Vooch is fine. I just don't love him compared to other centers. So he's fine at his ownership, but I do prefer other centers. Then I have to shout Lonzo Ball, man. 9% owned. He's too cheap here without Kobe White. So I think he's another low on value that I like getting to here.
Yeah, man, totally with you. Unicorn saying Clarkson available for Utah tonight, 4,500 on FanDuel. Yes, Unicorn, absolutely. And looking at the clock, we have to go to like rapid fire mode. We're about to do that. Guys, I appreciate all the other comments, but for the sake of just getting the content in here, I'm going to try to rip through these next few games. Again, the two late games are FanDuel only. But yeah, we got Jayhawk on Discord duty today. He's got to double up, so I don't want to take too much more of his time. Moving into the next game, we got Washington and Dallas. I'm going to rip through these two teams at the same time and then ask you to do the same, Jayhawk. On the Washington side, no major injury news. No Malcolm Brogdon, Sadiq Bey, or Bagley. Those three have been out. On the Dallas side of things, no Lucas still. Derek Lively, Maxi Kleber both out, though, and Dwight Powell and Najee Marshall. So Daniel Gafford's minutes are as secure as they've ever been. This is his former team. There is a little bit of bad blood there. There's also some bad blood between Kuzma and Dinwiddie, who had a war of words on Twitter a couple years back. I like Kyrie here, sub 9K. This is the type of matchup he has a really high ceiling in. Under-owned on DK, I think over-owned on FanDuel. PJ Washington looks good on both sides. Gafford really the core play for me, though, more so on DK. But yeah, I do like this game. It seems like the field's getting there as well. But really quickly, talk me through Dallas and Washington. Anything that you're really considering like a core play or anything you're avoiding at high ownership?
Yep, love Gafford on DraftKings here. 6,700, great matchup. Love Gafford. He's kind of 1B to Jokic for me. And then I love Kyrie on both sides. I don't usually target him, but this is against Washington. Good price. Love Kyrie at his ownership on DK. And then PJ Washington, I think, is fine, both sides, but he seems a little bit chalky on FanDuel, so I would prefer being underweight there on FanDuel.
Yeah, the ownership's scary. I will say he's played 40 minutes in back-to-back games, which is obviously a good thing with Luka out. He's the guy seeing as much usage as anyone outside of Kyrie. But yeah, I know you mentioned before the stream too. I just bring him up quickly. Kaishan George is viable as value here. I do think we kind of have better things opening up elsewhere now. Particularly in this next game we're going to talk about, which is Atlanta and Minnesota. I did just do Washington, Dallas first. Atlanta, Minnesota is actually a half hour earlier. Scrambling guys, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, let's rip through the injury news here. So Dyson Daniels was downgraded. If he's going to be out, Keaton Wallace was already probably starting a point guard, but now he's going to see a big boost in usage. We have no Jalen Johnson, no Trey Young, DeAndre Hunter, Larry Nance, and Zach Reasher all questionable. This team's pretty banged up on the Atlanta side of things. I don't know. There's not much to talk about for Minnesota, so we'll just rip through this one quickly. If Daniels is in, I think he's good. If he's out, I think Wallace becomes one of the best value plays on the slate. Vit Krejci is another play I'm fine getting to. Don't like that they increased his price, though. And then Okongwu over Capella all day for me. He looks really solid here. I mean, those are the guys I trust. We'll probably see some ownership going to Bogdan. I've just been fading him every single night. It hasn't killed me yet. But yeah, definitely going to like Keaton here if Daniels is out. I think you could play him even if he's in. But Okongwu, another play I think is getting a little bit overlooked. But Atlanta, a team missing a lot of key pieces today, albeit in a pretty tough matchup. How are you going to handle the Hawks?
Yeah, so I already liked Keaton Wallace here at low ownership. He would become a core play for me if Dyson missed here. And then we also have that late news with Atlanta, so definitely just something to monitor. I hate to say it, but you know, Bogdanovich and potentially Roddy uh, could become in play here if all these guys sit. So just kind of monitor the news there.
Yeah, they would all need to sit. Again, Nance came back last game, played 20 minutes, didn't do anything, but he's on the depth chart ahead of Roddy, so just keep that in mind. Capella missed some time as well. So definitely a spot where we're waiting on news, but I think we like Keaton as value regardless. If Daniels is in, he's good. Kongu, really good play either way. Quickly on Minnesota, I mean, nothing too significant in terms of injury. Still no DiVincenzo. Yeah, Conley's going to get the start. I think he's a little bit overpriced. Fine to go to his value. McDaniels, suddenly some offensive juggernaut. Pretty ridiculous ridiculous, but he's been so good. I think you can even pay his price on FanDuel now at 5,800, where you're getting extra points for stocks. Edwards, if Daniels is out, this becomes a much better matchup. I know someone shouted that out in chat. I've been playing Nas Reed. The price continues to climb, though. I think it's mostly going to be McDaniels here for me. How are you going to handle these Timberwolves?
Yeah, so I think Anthony Edwards is fine at his ownership, but like him a lot more, assuming Dyson sits. So I don't hate Anthony Edwards. The thing I don't like here is just the total 217. Kind of scares me. But yeah, I think these guys are all fine. I think Anthony would probably be my favorite overall here, though.
Nice, man. Totally with you. Okay, so those are all the DK games. We got through those by 6:30 almost, but we do have two more games to get through quickly over on FanDuel. So Middleton's questionable for the Bucks, as is AJ Green. Don't think that matters too much. Giannis obviously looks tremendous here, as does Dame. I mean, we want to talk about Chicago and Denver's defense. Utah's been kind of on that same tier, pretty terrible. Giannis super chalky on FanDuel, but you do have him at power forward eligible. He is cheaper than Jokic. I like him a lot there. Not too much else for me from Milwaukee. How about you?
Yep, just Giannis for me from Milwaukee.
Nice. And yeah, we'll keep this going quick. Utah side of things, pretty interesting. They are going to be without. Cody Williams is out. Colin Sexton is back and available. Still no Walker Kessler, John Collins, Taylor Hendricks, Johnny Juzang, or John Collins. So yeah, Clarkson at his price looks great on FanDuel. Keep in mind, Sexton is back. Did I say George? George is back as well. So they have these guards available. Clarkson's still underpriced, though, in my opinion. That's going to take Collier out of the rotation, so can't really get to him. But in the front court, Drew Eubanks probably going to get the start at center. He's too cheap for what he's capable of. You are using up that center spot, but 4,200, even against a tough team, you should be able to get there pretty easily. Yeah, on FanDuel, I just think it's mostly the mispricings of Clarkson and Eubanks. Obviously not an issue on DK, but how are you handling the Jazz?
Yeah, so for the Jazz here in FanDuel, I love both Clarkson and Eubanks. You mentioned it, both too cheap, especially Clarkson though. Really good matchup for shooters. So love Clarkson on FanDuel. I might try to get a little bit less of Eubanks, more of other centers on FanDuel if I can. Though.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy way to get different. And Sexton, honestly, too, feels a little bit underpriced at 6,200. He's rating even better than Eubanks is, at least in terms of OF index. Last game on the slate. Thanks again, everyone. Sorry we couldn't get to all of chat today. Again, we got Jayhawk on double duty. A lot of games to get through, but Clippers taking on the Suns. On the Clippers side of things, Chris Dunn's still out. No PJ Tucker, Jordan Miller. Zeus looks good here, man, against this kind of banged up front court. Derek Jones Jr. has been viable as value, but he's priced up now. But yeah, with Kawhi back, I'm not crazy about Powell or Harden at their respective prices. Harden's price came up almost a full 1,000 on FanDuel, even with this team getting healthier. So nothing I'm really interested in from the Clippers here, except for maybe a little bit of Zubac. How about you?
Yeah, Clippers, just not a great team to target here with all these guys back. So maybe Harden, maybe Zubac, but for me, I'm pretty much underweight to all of these Clippers here.
Nice, man. And then over on the Sun side of things, they are healthier than they've been in a long time. Nurk kind of falling out of favor there. He's not on the injury report, interestingly enough. Ryan Dunn is out. Maybe that means Brad Beal slides into the starting lineup. We've actually preferred Beal coming off the bench because it does increase the usage for Booker and Durant. Tyus Jones, not really a play for me unless Beal's going to be out, and it looks like he's available. So yeah, I can't sit here and say I'm excited to play any of these Suns. They're all kind of priced where they should be. Again, this team much healthier than they have been lately. Are you getting to any Phoenix, or would you be on FanDuel?
So I loved Nick Richards last slate, but in terms of this slate, I don't like the matchup. So Phoenix is pretty much a stay away as well for me.
Nice, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, let me take a quick look at chat, guys, but we do have to get out of here. Definitely not get to any of these major comments. Suggs is out. Yeah, I think with Orlando getting healthy, you're still not rushing Nicole Anthony necessarily. Who's starting for Young? Depends if Dyson's in or not. Probably going to be Keaton Wallace. Tobias is in. That takes us off Detroit. Just probably avoid that game for the most part now. Yeah, Eubanks starting. Duncan Robinson in is a good play. But yeah, guys, no time for the quick dummy today, but we're still waiting on some news. Again, Jayhawk will be in the Discord. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for your time. Ripping through this one. Jayhawk, any last thoughts before you take it over in Discord?
No, enjoy the games tonight, and hopefully that Denver game does not disappoint.
Absolutely, man. Let's crush it, guys. Great week ahead. Let's make some money. Have fun and good luck.
Well, guys.